Yo, welcome back to the channel, Let's Mix Live. My name is Mike Langford. I am a engineer, producer, mixer based out of Toronto, Canada. And on this channel, we do some live stream mix sessions, just to show you not what you should do, but what you could do working on some songs. We are getting back to Russian prog rock / metal band called Violent Bliss. One second, it's got to change something here. Violent Bliss, and the song we're working on is called Voiceless Siren. This is part 4 so far. I've just started this channel, and I figured to be able to get through songs in 2 or 4 sessions. Just a little bit of a recap. The first session was just doing some setup. Second session was some editing we were doing. I think we prepped vocals. Prepping vocals for me is tuning, timing. It can also include comping, but that was already done. We just had the one vocal track to work with, one lead vocal track to work with, and then we laid in some samples to trigger off of for the kick drum. So just a lot of cleanup, a lot of prep and stuff that I would normally do for a mix session. And then I think we're just digging into some more mix and just adding some delays and effects and getting a vocal sound together. Just kind of doing some experimenting last time, but we left off. I thought it was sounding pretty good. That being said, I like to have fresh ears on mixes. Usually every 2 or 3 hours I'll take a break and I'll go do something else for a bit and then come back and listen again. But most of my critical listening, I do that in the morning. So just starting up this channel, we've been doing Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Thursdays at noon Eastern Standard Time. So we're back at it today. I'll probably finish it up today. I'm loving the song. I'm loving a lot about it. Normally, I've got horrible English, but normally I have concerns when songs are longer than 4 minutes. So usually there's something going on where I'm like, do we need to be going on that long? But this one's like 5 and change, close to 6 minutes, but it's kind of cut up into 2 major chunks here. Mike Patterson's here. How's it going, Patterson? Hope you're well. I'm just gonna switch cameras here. There we go. I'll turn down my comfort music there. So yeah, this song's kind of broken into 2 chunks here. So it's like 2 3-minute sections opposed to one giant 6-minute section. So I think that it has helped the listener, but also helped it helped my thought process of how I wanted to kind of arrange it with the vocal sound, because we had our vocal here and then we had kind of a secondary vocal sound, and then halfway through the song I switched over to that other vocal sound and made that one kind of the main vocal sound, and then back to the original one again. So we kind of have this sonic journey that we're able to go on. So that's how I broke that up. What I want to listen to today, just got to get rid of a couple things. What I wanted to focus on today, just have a listen again and just listen to some of the effects that we did. So we did a vocal throw, like vocal throws, automation on some delays. I want to listen to those again. Also, I wanted to listen to, it's right here on the session, I wanted to listen to the reference that was here. Taylor's here. How's it going, Taylor? Says, good afternoon, man. Good afternoon to you. I'm going to listen through from the top. Going to mute that. Only thing I've done since opening the session back up is just check my test tones. So warning, if you're using speakers, or if you're using your own headphones, or if you're using a PA system / line array where you are, you know who you are. Just be mindful when I'm EQing sometimes, if I'm sweeping around for frequencies, just be mindful of your own levels at home and the way you're listening, because I wouldn't want any damage to happen to your ears or to your listening devices. Because things could happen if you're not ready for it, and I'm messing around with some frequencies. But yeah, only thing I've done so far is I just opened up and brought up my 1K test tones. Just so that we had those, so I could check my left and right. Left, right. And also make sure when it's being blasted out to everybody, we are using restream.io, so this is going to Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube all at the same time, just to make sure my levels are okay when I'm sending it through. So I'm going to listen through from the top. I'm going to make some notes. I'm going to take my headphones off too, listening, just to hear where we're at. And yeah, I'll try to not listen super loud all day today, so that'll help how long I can hear for. I'd probably be here for an hour or 2 hours, messing around with things and just kind of tidying up where I would get to send something out to a band. So, last thing I wanted to mention too, there's a lot of things to get off the top here. If you're a new mixer or a mixer just looking for some inspirato or other genres you want to work on, that's another thing I've come across talking to people. Sometimes we get pigeonholed into genres, but say you do a lot of metal and you want to mix pop, or you mix a lot of pop and you want to mix metal. There's a website called Cambridge Music Technology. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, down below in the details, you'll see a link to it. There's a fantastic resource there with tons of multi-tracks across tons of different artists and tons of different genres. And they're for educational purposes. And you can mess around with those and at least get access to it, because that is the one thing when I was growing up, you only had access to what you recorded, basically. So the idea where you have this website that has all these other different genres and bands and stuff that you can grab the multi-tracks from, even if you're not so much into mixing, but if you're into engineering as well, being able to listen to what some of the raw tracking sounds like, especially guitars and drums and vocals, and then listen to the preview or listen to the rough mix that's there, the reference mix that's there, you can learn a lot about what they started with and where they got it to. So fantastic resource. Again, Cambridge Music Technology. Link is below if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to take the headphones off. I'm going to listen through. Going to listen through and make some notes. I've got my notepad. I've got my notepad pen, so I don't have to write down notes with a Sharpie. Horrible idea. If it's important, don't use a Sharpie. You won't know what you're talking about. It's worse than doctor writing. All right, I'm going to hit play here. I'm actually just going to make these inactive. So it's going to highlight those, hit Control, hide and make inactive. Those can go away. I'm just in case, I'm going to make the reference here inactive. I'm going to listen through to what we have so far. And what we have in brackets is what I have so far. And then I'm going to listen through a couple spots with the preview and just kind of A/B back and forth. So Patrick says, are you sick, Mike? I don't feel sick. Do I sound stuffed up? I feel pretty good, actually. Oh, it's morning. That's what it is. It's morning and I haven't talked to anybody. That's probably what you're hearing, because we get up and we just go about our business. And then I haven't talked all day. Also, because I had class last night and hockey. So I probably burnt my voice out at hockey in the afternoon, and then I probably burnt my voice out talking about digital recording formats for an hour and a half. So that's probably what that is. But no, I'm quite well. Okay, I'm going to listen through here and take my headphones off, and I'll be right back in probably 6 minutes.
This primal want, unreal to satisfy.
Okay, first listen through. It's always interesting listening through for the first time in the morning. Taylor's saying, like the song already. Yeah, no, it's definitely, I think it's a cool track. Taylor says, I can't wait to hear it all finalized. Again, these songs are done. This is from a free educational resource. So they're already out. I'm just messing around with the tracks and just showing some examples of what you could do, not what you should do. I made my notes here. My notes on the track, top end sounds harsh. That usually is what happens when you're listening for loud. To me, what usually happens when I'm listening at loud levels for an extended period of time, which is what I was doing last time. Foolishly, but it felt good, so I did it. So top end, I could probably smooth that out a little bit. What I normally don't do when I'm making my notes is move anything, but because I'm only here for a couple hours this morning, I just started fussing with a couple things just while it was sounding good. One thing I should do is do save as, file, save as, and then I just update that to today so that if I needed to go back to anything, I can do that. So today is the 24th of February. A whole bunch of neat stuff's happened around the world in the last couple of days. I don't mean neat as in good. I mean as in kind of chaos. So we'll leave that out of the show. Anyways, back to here. So top end is a little bit harsh, so I did mess around. I think the top end of the guitars, I can mess around with that a tiny bit. Top end of the drums, so I was messing around with the, let's have a Pultec EQ, just kind of get the brightness, or just adjust the brightness on the cymbals there. So I was messing around with that a little bit, brought that down a touch. There's some stuff in the guitars I still want to try and mess with, just some of the harshness between 1 and 4K. I usually find it's around there. I could probably use a bit more effects in the vocals. It's a little bit more reverb or either that slap delay, the quick delay we have. We hit around 117, bar 117 here. When the drums are kind of by themselves, just listening. I want to mess around with some of the effects on the drums there because I feel like we can get a little bit more room sound on what's there. And then 117, the bass tapping starts there as well. There's a couple of things I want to try there to get a little bit more motion or movement that's going there. So that's kind of where I was at. And then there's a couple things just to back what Taylor was saying to hear it finalized. I'm going to get it kind of close enough that I'd send it to if I was sending this out to a band, get it to the point where I'd feel comfortable sending it out to them. But usually I think get it around like 90% where you feel good without doing any major automation moves with bringing stuff up and down. Because I find usually with the bands or clients, they're usually going to want to make some moves anyways. So like personally and emotionally, it's like don't get attached to what you're sending out to them. Feel good about it to sign off, but if they want extra couple of moves, they're gonna ask anyways. So get close and then go from there. So there's a couple of things. I brought the vocals down a touch too. That was another one I did, and I just kind of messed around with the guitar levels a little bit against the drums. So I have NS10 studio monitors here. Those are my main monitors that I use, and then because I love mentioning it because everyone's got something. I have a little USB monitor or speaker that I plug in here, and I kind of just use it for kick and snare levels and just overall balances. It's easier to see, easier to hear it on kind of less than desirable speakers to have an idea what that's going to sound like. So I'm just going to, I wanted to listen to the reference that was there too. So I will take my headphones off in a second for that, but let's get that going through. So I have a switcher here for inputs, so it should be there. It's going to be one of those days again. It's got to find out where it is. Last time the problem was it was soloed. And that, because I'm messing with the input. That's not going to do anybody any good. Okay, so it might be 9 or 10. No. I don't label these things, as you can tell, so I just got to figure out which one it is. There we go. So I'm just going to listen for a second, just A/B between the two. All right, headphones back on. So that's where we are. That's the reference. I like the snare a lot. But I'm hearing some... I hate calling out frequencies because I feel like a big phony because I don't actually know, but it's usually between like 1 and 4K. I hear issues with stuff that's harsh for me. So this is the reference. I like what's going on with the vocals here. But we changed the sound. It's more top end on the bass too. It's a lot of reverb on the snare. I have an idea here. I'm gonna go to our DI here. And I'm just gonna try to grab some of the... It's gonna drop in here. Whoops. It's just a lot of frequencies in the guitars, I think, that's making it kind of harsh on my end. They've added some reverb to the bass here, I think. Hopefully the thing didn't happen where because I moved one thing on the bass, it moved the other one too. It did. Okay. Because sometimes when you have it where you just duplicate it, it grabs both of them. So I just got to mess around with that for a second. So I'll just add this on here. Hopefully it doesn't do it again. Sometimes when you just click and drag and copy stuff, I'm sure there's a reason why. Okay, it is doing that again. Just give me a second here. So some mids that can probably come back in somewhere. Like you really hear it in the mids and the drums there. But it sounds cleaner to me, so. They're really laying on the drums there. So a couple things there. I'm just kind of fussing around with. For anyone that's curious, I do have Golf Foss on right now. You're probably laughing at whatever curves happen there right now. I might turn that back off or just bypass it. And I do have a limiter going right now. Find limiter, just throw it on there. You're going to be sending it to the client with the limiter on it anyways. When I get near the end of a mix, it just helps kind of park things and just makes it a little bit easier for me. Still kind of curious about, so top end might be a little bit better now. Oh, I was messing around with a plugin called Soothe. I got it around Christmas. Usually around Christmas, I'll start buying some things just to expense a few more things for the end of the fiscal year. But yeah, I was messing around with that on another mix a couple days ago, and I was like, I see why some people are freaking out about how awesome it is, because it could tame frequencies pretty easily. It's kind of dynamic EQ, what it's doing. So it was pretty rad. So there's that. There's some effects on the vocals I wanted to mess with. So I'm going to kind of go there for a second, because I'm still like, it's weird because like I'm not totally sold on the vocal sound yet, but there's times when I'm like, no, this sounds good. And there's other times I'm like, yeah, we could probably fuss with it a bit more. But listening to the reference, like there's the tone of the voice and there's the tone of the track. And I think it's I could hear the vocals and I can hear the voice. I can hear the words. So overall, usually when it's sitting there, it sounds pretty good as long as it's not harsh or anything. But there's a couple spots in this effecty one that we have. This different approach that we took with the chorus and a little bit of distortion. So I might fuss around with that a little bit more because it's just over here at the tempo change. It's just that part when the little vibrato comes in. That's when it starts to freak me out. Gemma's here. How's it going? How's it going, Gemma? Just mixing for fun. Get some of the normal snare. There's something about the tone of the snare drum. I like the sample in there to kind of augment it, but Pro Tools. You can just feel it after a while with Pro Tools. So that's where that body's coming from, the room mics for the drums. So again, I don't normally mix in headphones. There's a couple things I'm guessing. We did mute those spots here too. Just want to listen to drums for a second. So we messed around with the, again, I have lots of templated stuff that I use for mixing, so it's kind of like bringing in some of, okay, I don't know if Deverb's going to actually sell me on this, so lustrous plates are usually pretty good. So I have lots of templated stuff. I'm trying to not use stuff from other sessions so that I can kind of start fresh on it, but presets are still fair game. I did say that. Gemma saying, got my booster shot yesterday, still resting. That sounds good. Thank you for doing that for yourself and for your loved ones around you. What do I do? That might work okay. That's this on the snare. Pro Tools. I think it's auto saving. I think that's what it's actually doing. It's different that I would put reverb on the kick. I don't know what I was thinking. Friends don't let friends put reverb on the kick. I'm not going to worry about the snare reverb right now. I'm just going to worry. That sounds better. That sounds better to me. Okay, I can buy that for the drums. That sounds better. So we took the reverb off of the snare. Off the snare sample, off the snare drum top, and off the kick. I don't know why there's reverb on. People really need to, like, send a message. Send a message if someone's putting reverb on a kick drum like that. That's a cry for help, I think. Patterson, when are you going to be mixing some Framing Hanley? Probably not. Probably not going to be mixing Framing Hanley. But wish those guys the best. Are they still a band? Are they still doing stuff? I don't actually know them. Did that with the drums. I was with the rooms. 117 with the bass tapping part. Okay, let's go there. So we're there. So what we can do, because we want to try to add some movement here. So let's just duplicate the bass DI. And we won't take any of those. We just want part of the group. Yeah, so this is going to be a blank track there. And we'll call this, we'll call that tap. So we can see that. It fits nicely in there as well. So what I like to do, kind of starts there, and then I learned something. I just got to remember how to do it. Your grid mode up here, because we are working on bars and beats. But grid, if we want to change the grid, we can, like how it's divided up, we can go up there and select whatever note duration. But I think it's, what is it? Shift and plus and minus. You can scroll through those without having to go up there. I'm all about hotkeys. Hotkeys are awesome. So we start there, and then we go to about there. So I'm just going to Command C, going to copy all that and paste that down. So we're just duplicating that. We're putting it on a new track. Why are we doing that, or why am I doing that? I refer to it as being energy efficient. Some people will call it lazy, but I just think it's easier to just put it on a new track, and then we can just fade into it. So instead of doing any automation, we can just fade in and fade out of it. So instead of having to fade up, we can just add it in. So that's our tapping one there. So let's scoop it a little bit. We'll just EQ. Again, I'm working in headphones, which I normally do not do. What do I want to do here? I want to add some kind of wiggly sauce to what's going on here. So let's, we could use chorus again. Let's go back to that. Okay, that's going to work. We'll use some of that. And then we'll throw our delay on it. I don't name my buses. So bus 9 is a short delay, 10's long delay, and the 11's reverb. So we've got the delay on there now. So we got the chorus on there. Let's see if we can add something else here. Like, let's go back to Sans Amp. Hopefully it's not going to mess with it again. I think I know why it does it, but I also don't know why it does it. So if I move this, it's not going to move it. So let's just listen to, okay, I can close this. I'm confident I can close that. I just want the top end from it. We got the chorus on there just to kind of make it a little bit, give it a little bit of texture. So without, that's just the bass tone we're working with. All right, the other idea I wanted to do here too. So if we just open this up a little bit and we go to pan, we can look at where it's panning. Right now it's in the middle. If we move that, we'll see that line change where it's positioned there. So again, being energy efficient, I'm just going to use the pencil tool, go down to triangle. Because we're set on quarter notes right now, it's going to draw. Actually, I'll just show you what's going on there. If you're in grid mode and you have this pencil tool and you have it set on Pro Tools, and you have this set on triangle, what it's going to do when you draw this in is it's going to set it on the actual quarter notes, which I think might be a little bit too intense. But what this is going to do is add automation for the panning. So actually what I want to do as well, I'm just going to put a little dot over here, put a little dot over there. It's hard to get those just right sometimes. Anyways, that way so we can do our automation just in the middle of those two dots. It's making me look like a fool today. There we go. We'll just do that. There we go. All right, that one's done, and then there we go. The movement's pretty quick. If you have headphones on and it's late at night, but that's too fast for me. So let's go up to half notes and draw that in. I just want a little bit of wiggle going on here. Still too quick. I generally use the whole bar automation there. And also we don't need to draw it in that aggressive. So without, with, It's just this part, because there's no focus. There's nothing that we're listening to, so we're making the bass be the thing we're listening to. I'm going to grab the reverb as well. Okay, and I like this lustrous plates we're using for the drums, so I'm just going to do the thing where I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold Option, and I'm just going to drag it over to where our other reverb was, which was over here. I'm going to replace that one. It may cause chaos, it may not, but I'm living dangerously right now. So it's way more prominent reverb. So anything I have reverb on, I probably need to adjust. The deverb was not being very loud, so there's lots of ways we can get around that too. I'm gonna add another reverb on the snare drum too. I think that sounds better. Okay, so I think that sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to just turn this down just a touch. I'm just going to bring this fade in a little bit. So I think we can probably go about halfway, but then we can fade in. Maybe try that. You can just hit F on the keyboard. Again, make sure that's selected, that edit keyboard focused is selected. Make sure that is orange. It turns a lot of your buttons on your keyboard into hotkeys. So I think we can fade in a little bit with the effects on the bass. Again, without. Sounds okay. Changing the reverb sound made a big difference for me. That's the reference. The bass is just so awesome in this song. It's like I want to keep turning it up. Pro Tools. I think it's because I have it's set on 1 minute save for backups. Okay. So I think that's all sounding okay. I'm going to go back to the vocals here. Once we get to this changeover here, It's just there's a distortion thing that's happening there. I'm just curious. So I did pick up Soothe, which is an EQ. If I can find it. Dynamic EQ. Because I was messing around with it, and there was a preset in here for cymbals, and as soon as I put that on, I was like, this could make my life. This could change my life. I don't even say it's going to make my life better. It could actually just change my life. So it's kind of a, from what I'm looking at, and again, I'm probably going to be corrected by somebody in the future. It's like a dynamic EQ. So I was into drums, and then there was cymbal smooth. I think that's what it was. And it was just fantastic what it was doing. Like, it just seems to just get rid of some of the nonsense because of the distortion. It's hard to tell, though. Maybe we don't need... Maybe we don't need the distortion on there. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you can just use the filter that we kind of set up. Maybe that'll work. Maybe we'll run with that. Grab those reverbs too. I think that might be better. As much as I wanted to use Decapitator and Distortion on that, I don't think it's going to work. So I don't know if we need Soothe on that anymore. Thing two, just back, I know I'm switching gears for a second here, but thing two with that, doing the bass trick over here, not trick, but just routing it this way instead of doing any automation and turning on and off plugins and EQs and modulation stuff. By just having it set down here, if we want to go back to that ever, we can just copy and bring it down and do the same trick there. Because I don't know if there's any other spots in the song we might want to do that, but just a thought while I was thinking. Yeah, I think that actually we don't need the distortion on the vocal.
Places
1 second. Just going to check on the speakers. I forgot to mute my vocal mics. I don't know how phasey and bad that all sounded. But I was just trying to adjust the vocal level. I'm having trouble with the vocal level in my headphones versus the little USB speaker that I have. So just kind of rebalancing that as well. Carmen's here. How's it going, Carmen? Carmen's saying, gives the vocal a little sexy gruff. You're talking about the distortion that was on it. I did like it, but there's just a couple spots where I just feel like it's harsh. And that's my thing. So it's just the back half of that. Well, okay, we can try this actually. Let's put our distortion back on. It's just there. There's where it starts to do a little wiggle there. Excuse me. What we can try to do here as well. So we can just fade that out. Maybe that's going to help. That doesn't hit the distortion as hard. That kind of works. Karma says, is that not from the Melodyne, the vibrato? No, it's not. Because again, that's tuned. This is untuned. That's after. I think we did tame it a little bit. I mentioned it last. You saw the last, the episode where I was tuning vocals. The thing is, as soon as you open the can of worms of tuning vocals, everything sounds a bit funky. Everything sounds a little bit. Is that me, or is that the original? Is that Melodyne? And you just learn to live with some of that. But that's the sound of the voice. It's one of the things. If you had different vocal takes to work with, little things like that. There's nothing wrong with it, but you might swap it out for something else that just sounds just sounds a little bit better in the mix. There's nothing wrong with the performance. It's just how it's coming across in the mix. And that's one of those things where when you're comping sometimes, when the band's like, is there a better version of that? Yeah, I intentionally put the second best version in so that we could change it later after I spent an hour and a half comping vocals. But sometimes that's what you're listening for as well. So it's important to keep that in mind.
My voiceless, my calling, there is soul in music way.
I could live with that by just fading it out a little bit.
Soul in music way. Still looking back, no one is tired.
I do like the distortion on it. I do think it sounds cool. I was just checking on the USB speaker. That's why I didn't bother muting my microphone. Checking quick. I think that's pretty cool. I'm buying that. Okay, hour in. Patterson's dropped on YouTube. Just dropped some history of framing Hanley into the chat. Appreciate that. Those guys are doing well. Again, I don't know them. Okay, where are we at here? There was top end harsh. I think I got that solved, or at least it's sounding better. I just kind of brought that down a little bit. More vocal effects. I think we've solved a lot of that, I feel like, by switching up the reverb we're using. Sometimes I'm too energy efficient, aka a little too lazy on that. I use deverb all the time, and I usually time it to the song. But I've been messing around with Lustrous Plates a little bit, the Slate reverb, and it's pretty fantastic. It just sounds good. So we got that set up. We've moved that over to our drums as well, because when we hit this kind of space over here at 117, we hit this part. Felt like we could just use a little bit more room on there just for the mids for the drums. The bass tapping part, we solved that, in my opinion, by just duplicating the DI track and just making it called the tap part. So we just had a new sound there. We just faded it in. With some movement, some panning. Because again, without it, we're just kind of vibing on it, but like, give it focus. I'm gonna put the reverb on the toms too. This could make it worse, it could make it better. Oh, if you're wanting to make fine adjustments, I'm just going to mention that too, because that's why we're here. If I just move this up a little bit, sometimes it will go up 0.1, but often when you're moving a fader, it's going to move it quite a bit. But if you want to make fine adjustments, hold Control, and I don't know if I need to. Yeah, hold Control and Command, and you can get a little bit more finesse in there. Pro Tools. It was working. Yeah, there we go. So I'm not completely crazy. Yeah, so if you hold control and command, sorry, you hit control, click on it, and then hit command, and it seems to make the adjustment. Or I guess you can just click on it and then hit command and do it. I've always just hit control and command. I'm thinking right now I've been hitting control and command because usually it's part of a group. And when you have everything part of a group, it moves everything. But if you hold command and then you move it. So I guess that's why I've been, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. I just start doing things. But I guess I've been hitting control to take control of the one fader in the group and then command after clicking on it to make the fine adjustments. That's how you can do 0.1 moves. So often that's what I'm doing most of the time. Again, I learned something here too, because I often don't think about the buttons I'm mashing on the keyboard. I just start doing stuff. So, but that's how we got the bass sound that was there. There's not too much more. I think like really getting down to this, I would finesse the balance of the backing vocals, because there's definitely some louder backing vocals in the reference that they have. And I would see if there's anything else I wanted to like mute during the song. And then from there, I'd probably get ready to send it out, because I've already got my tube mix stuff that's going on. I kind of wanted to mess around a bit more with Soothe and just kind of slap that on everything, because it's pretty good. It's pretty good what it's doing. And I'm late to the party. I'm late to the Soothe party too. So those of you who've been on me about you got to get Golfos, so you can see what I'm saying. You got to get Golfos and you've got to get Soothe 2. So I'm here now. I'm seeing what's going on, and I half joke about it when it comes to mixing in particular. Like usually every 3 or 4 months you discover something. You're like, oh, I suck at what I'm doing. This is why other people are doing way better. But yeah, that effect has been pretty awesome. I think I was messing around with it on the guitars there too, but it's not bugging me too much, so I'll just deactivate that. I'm gonna have a listen through from the top, because I don't want to, I'm not gonna, like, I know my rants probably aren't the best use of some people's time, but overall, like, I'm feeling pretty good about what's happening here. So I'm gonna take the headphones off again, listen through, see if there's any more notes that I want to make. Just so I can kind of listen loud, because it is fun, and I'm able to do that right now. So be right back. I'm just gonna have a listen. Just hang in there for a second. I got an idea. Should probably talk through this. There's a spot here where nothing's really happening, but there's some kind of accents with the guitars. So I'm wondering if we can just automate this phaser here. So in Pro Tools, you can just click on this button here in your plugins, beside bypass. That's how I always forget, but I try to remember it's beside bypass. Click that. This will bring in your automation parameters. So I just want to go to master bypass and add that. When I add that and I go back over here on the track, it'll show up. So now we have master bypass there. So what I'm going to do is just turn on the plugin once we get to that spot here. So I'm just going to move this over because our guitars, we can see them there. So I'm just going to turn on. So it's not right on the grid. So I want to make sure it's kind of on there. So, and I'll just use our trimmer tool, and you can see it's kind of backwards when you think about it. We're turning off bypass. That's why it says on at the top and then off at the bottom. So if all works out, we should see that turn back on. So the bypass is off once it goes over that spot. Hold on. So it did the thing. I'm just curious if we bring this all the way over to here. So I'm going to put the grid mode back on. I'm going to go here. I'm just curious what that sounds like all the way over there. It could sound terrible. It could sound kind of okay. We'll see. All right, adds a little something. I'd probably leave it, see if anyone says anything. Sometimes people are like, yeah, it sounds awesome. Sometimes people are like, can we take that off? It's freaking us out. Other times no one notices and you just leave it in. It's a little Easter egg. So I'm going to keep listening from there. Okay, made it all the way through without fussing around too much. I just did that phasery thing there on the guitars, just because I was curious. It only takes a second to do that. I'm still fussing with the vocal level, but overall, I'm happy enough with it where I'd probably go for a walk or something, come back, and then I would listen again, fuss around with it a bit more. Again, I save all the time. I've got a hotkey for doing save as. So that's what I would do there. Katie's here. How's it going, Katie? Hope things are well. But yeah, overall, I'd probably leave it there. Again, A being back and forth between the reference that's there with the track and where I'm at. Like there's always things about the reference that I think sound good, even though if overall I'm like, okay, reference is good, but there's things I don't like about it. There's things that I like better about where I'm at with my mix. There's always things I think jump out that that the band or the mixer or whoever did the reference, what they were focusing on. And again, you can give these tracks to 100 different mixers, and I would say, 60% of them are going to be good, and maybe 10% are going to be exceptionally good, and then 10% are going to be like really way off sort of thing. So there's lots of different ways to make things sound good. That's what I'm getting at there. But overall, I think it's sounding pretty good. Only last thing that I would do just while we're here, I try to reduce the bloat in some of these episodes. I'm sure people would appreciate that. They see like a 4-hour episode and it's just me going off about who knows what. But one of the last things that I would do, just on our master fader here, I'm just going to drop this in. There's some distortion on that vocal too, and that there's not much I can do about it. But just listening to the end, I can probably end there. So I kind of listened through and put a point on here, just so we can do a little bit of a fade out. Again, I teach people not to put fade outs on their 2 mix, like on their 2 track. But the song's done, and for me, when it comes to compression, as long as your compressors, like your 2-bus compressors, aren't doing really anything at that point, I think you can do your fade out safely. If your drums are still going and like the band, like if the song is still playing and you're fading out that way, I would route everything to another aux and then fade out on your master fader after, so it's kind of after the fact, so your compressors and everything are still working, but you're fading out after the fact, so you're not affecting your compressors. Hopefully that makes sense. Just listening when that's kind of over, I would say there. Just to get a little fade out there. And then what I would normally do is just go here, put a marker in on your number pad. You can hit enter. If you don't have that, you can also go over here to where markers are, and you can put in a memory location. They couldn't call this memory locations, and they couldn't just call this markers. I don't know. But you just make that blank. And then you can also, go to the beginning when the song actually is starting here. And just go back to our selecting tool. So about there, so I'd hit enter again, make another blank one. That way on our memory locations here, if I want to export this, option A, if you want to just see everything that's going on, option A is your friend. So normally what I do is click the first blank one, the second blank one, and this is our entire track that's here. And also just I'm curious. The song is 6 minutes and 9 seconds long. Case is doing good. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I'm liking this. This is fun for me. Hopefully this is fun and entertaining and educational for other people as well. So that's the way that I would do this for exporting. Another thing that we could do here too, we can put in another marker. Now that we've got the selection here, put another marker. And you can actually, instead of putting a marker in, you can say selection and then absolute because it's running off time. And we can call this full mix export. So that way, wherever we are in the song, if we hit this full mix export, it's going to actually give us the full time of the song when we're exporting. And if you make any changes or any big edits and stuff like that, then you need to readjust this after. But those are just a couple different ways to make sure your whole song is there. Because if you don't have that selected, it's going to actually export from the very beginning, where we have our little kick samples there, very beginning all the way to the very, very end. So on occasion, sometimes we've sent things out to clients using the plural terms so that I'm not taking full responsibility. We've sent out things to clients that has the stuff at the beginning. But I usually just check the beginning and just kind of skim through tracks before I send that out to anybody. Because I highly recommend to it, I usually leave a gap at the beginning. If we need to hide any samples or any loops or anything, it just makes it a little bit easier. So I think that's probably it for this tune. Again, Violent Bliss, Voiceless Siren, 4 parts. I'm figuring with this new show, we probably do 2 to 4 episodes for most songs, because sometimes we're just going to be editing and cleaning stuff up. But doing the math on this, I think the first episode is maybe 3 hours, second one was maybe 3 hours. So we probably did 8 or 10 hours on this one, which to me is totally normal. But when you really think about how much time you spend mixing versus cleaning things up and organizing, I feel like it's kind of a 60-40 or 70-30 thing. You might spend 60 or 70% of the time actually just cleaning up the tracks and then actually getting to mixing. And not to use the food analogies again, but it's kind of getting everything chopped up and your sauce is dealt with and everything in little bowls and it looks nice and you can take the Instagram picture. But once you're ready to actually start cooking, it makes it a whole lot easier when you've done all the prep and you can start getting into it and not be trying to fix things while you're actually mixing, or back with the food analogies, picking things out of the soup or stew or whatever when you're actually cooking. Just get that stuff out of there to begin with and it's a little bit easier. Last thing I would do, let's go up to File. Go up to Save Copy, All Audio Files. I always make a new, that should be bit depth, should be 24. I'm going to check that in case that's been on there for a while. Always make sure you have all your audio files. And again, we're mixing at 44.1. I go here, and we want to save the copy in. So I've been saving it on this drive. And you should see some stuff pop up there in a second. Interesting. The drive's not seeing it. 1 second. That bit depth should be 24. And we should be able to go Let's Mix Live. If for some reason, say, we're just not seeing stuff on here, I don't know why it's doing that. Sometimes things are just having problems. Always highly recommend. It can be Pro Tools too. All right, I don't know what Pro Tools is doing right now, but normally I would be doing a backup of this, but Pro Tools. Nice. I hope this was entertaining. I hope it was educational. Again, I love this song. I'll try to figure out what's going on with Pro Tools in a second. It's just going to hang on the... Yeah, that's frozen there anyway, so that's just gonna hang there. We'll figure that out later. Out later. But I love the bass on this track. I love the vocal, the emotion of the vocal on this one for sure. We did a bit of work just tuning, timing the vocal, just prepping that up a little bit. That's totally normal. Some people, some people think that musicians, especially vocalists, be it listeners or be it actual vocalists, need to be perfect, and it's totally not the case. Get the emotion down, get the performances down. I always recommend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 performances of a part, and then of a section, and then comp from there. Don't lose your mind trying to get a perfect take. If you get a great take, I still recommend run it down a couple more times, because there's always little band-aids that help a lot. So, but back with the vocals on this one, like I thought the emotion was great, and really there's just a few spots we were just dusting over with Melodyne, just kind of clean up a bit. That's all normal. That's all normal production stuff these days. So don't shy away from that. Then the other thing that I had on this track too, and again, it's totally preference for whoever's producing, whoever's working on it, but I do recommend to time your drums. These are long songs to time, and they're really close, but just a couple things tightening up. So we just tighten up one section. If we see, I'm just going to bring this back down here for a second. If you see down here, we just tightened up one section, but it's like that little bit down there to me makes a big difference. But if you time your entire drum kit, get the performances, comp it, time it, and then start recording on top of that, and I can almost guarantee you, because I try not to speak in absolutes, but I can almost guarantee you when you hit some of those parts in the song, they're going to hit that much harder because the timing is there and the whole band can line up against it. It doesn't have a little bit of wiggle to it, where we can lose some of our power and impact, which especially for metal and hard rock and stuff, like you definitely miss it. So I think that's about it for today. I think I kept this to an hour and a half. I figured it'd be an hour or 2 hours. So, but yeah, I'm feeling good about where this is at. Again, this is for fun. This is educational. Some of the students seem to enjoy the online mix sessions that I was doing, where they got to just look over my shoulder at what I was doing. So that's what we're trying to do here on Let's Mix Live. The idea of not what you should do, but what you could do. Because again, there's 101 different ways you can make something sound good. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the track. I'm going to try to put, I'm not going to try, I'm going to put some of the info for the band, for Violent Bliss, down below. So if you want to check them out online, you can do that. Again, Russian prog metal, prog rock band that I found on Cambridge Music Technology's website. Again, they've got tons of multi-track recordings on there for people to practice with, or people to just mess around, but also to inspect. Again, if you're an engineer and you want to hear what some sounds sound like, getting the multi-tracks has a lot of value to it. So. Okay, he says, glad to catch the rest of this, a little of the stream. Have a great rest of your day. Great rest of your day to you, Katie. Thanks everyone for stopping by. And again, thanks to everybody that's been checking out the live streams, the videos after the fact. Again, I just started this, I guess maybe a month ago, at the beginning of the month. But I'm already really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the feedback a lot. So I do appreciate that. Like the video, it helps the channel. Make sure to subscribe. Again, we're here. I'm speaking plural form right now, but I'm aiming to be here Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we can do 2 sessions a week. They're probably going to run between 1 and 3 hours long, messing around with stuff, but likely 2 to 4 sessions per song. To try to finish things up and get to a point where it's sounding decent over here, but also just be able to look at the sessions in a real world manner of how we might approach the mix, clean things up a little bit. So again, appreciate everybody for stopping by. My name is Mike Langford, a engineer, producer, mixer based in Toronto, Ontario. This has been Let's Mix Live. Again, live stream videos of examples of how to approach mixes using Pro Tools. And again, I'm not here to show you what you should do, but what you could do, because there's 101 different ways to make something sound good. All right, have a good rest of your weekend, everybody. I guess weekend hasn't started yet. Weekend. And I'll see you back here Monday night. Talk to you later.